All right, let's get started. My name is Greg Neagle. I'm with Walt Disney Animation Studios. 90 slides, actually more than that. 5 live demos in 75 minutes, followed by 1 final exam. No, actually, you don't need your laptops. You don't need to take notes. Anything, just sit back and relax. There will be no questions for you. You can have lots of questions for me, but I don't expect you to learn anything unless you want to. So the session we're going to talk about what's new in Munki, but there may be people here who are new to Munki and they might need a quick review of what Munki's all about, and then we can talk about what's new on top of that. So Munki's an open source of tools to help you manage software installs on OS X, and you can find it on GitHub. It's in use all over the world in organizations tiny and huge, up to Google size. I don't know too many organizations much bigger than that, although there are actually some school districts that are pushing close to that number of devices as well. It doesn't need much. A Munki server can be a web server that runs on any platform, Linux, OS X, even Windows. And the tools themselves, the client tools, will run on any Intel Mac, any Mac that's shipped probably in the last 10 years or so. Munki knows how to install and remove a lot of types of software, including Apple updates. And Munki operates maybe a little differently than if you're familiar with some of the other software distribution mechanisms, in that you define a state. You say to Munki, I would like these software items to be installed on these machines, and I want to make sure that these items are not installed on these machines. And Munki looks at the state of the machine, figures out what needs to be done to get it to that state, and just does it. And it does that continuously. So if you say, I want the latest version of Firefox on these machines, and the user, maybe they've got admin rights, and they delete that version of Firefox, next time Munki runs, it will put it back. Munki tries as hard as it can to keep your machines in the state you have defined. It also supports a very sane rollout workflow. Let's say you have an internal application, Whiz-Bang 1.0, it's crucial to your business. Everybody has to have it. So you tell Munki, install it on my entire fleet. And your internal developers come out with Whiz-Bang 2.0, but because this application is crucial to your business and it would be awful if you rolled this out and there were bugs and it caused your business to come to a halt, you think, I don't really want to immediately push this out to my entire fleet. So what you can do is you can import a new piece of software into a special catalog called, in this case we could call it development. You can call catalogs anything you want. But in this case we'll call it development. And that catalog is only looked at by a handful of machines. So that handful of machines sees, oh, there's a new version of Whiz-Bang, it's 2.0, I'm going to download and install it. Hopefully that handful of machines are people that you've talked to, they're known testers, and that they're going to test this app for you and make sure that it works. If they're not, and you use the alternate method, which is push the app out and see if anybody screams, that could work too. So you wait maybe a week or so, you don't hear any bugs, it looks good, so you move it into a testing catalog. And that testing catalog is looked at by an even wider range of machines. So now you've got a wider range of testers and test hardware for this app. And if that goes well, no problems, you can then move the package into a production catalog, and therefore it becomes available to all the machines in your fleet. So it's a very sane method of rolling out new updates in a way that you can feel confident you're not going to break everybody. Whenever you import software into Munki, you have some choices about how to deploy it. You can, as the admin, mark an item to be installed silently in the background. I don't want to notify the user. I just want the thing installed. Don't bother them, just do it. Or you can notify the users that there is an update, and then they can kind of figure out when it's convenient for them. And that's important for updates that might require a log out or a restart. It's nice to be able to have the user go, I'm working on something right now. I'll install that later at the end of the day, or I'll install that tomorrow. And finally, you can give the users even more control with a self-service a self-service option, which then allows them to decide actually which pieces of software they even want installed. So they can pick and choose from like an app store like catalog and say, I want that piece of software, I need this piece of software. Munki's open source, largely developed by a very small group of people, but there's this entire ecosystem that has kind of popped up and developed around Munki. Additional tools and things you can use to make Munki even more powerful in your organization. There's a gentleman in Finland, Hannes Ylönen, who has created a nice Cocoa front-end app to manage your Munki repo. There are various web front ends. Munki MacAdmins allows you to get status of what's going on in your fleet, get information about specific machines, look at what software you have in your repo, and even edit manifests. So there's a nice web interface for adding software to machines that, even your mother could use. That's not nice. Even a child could use. It also keeps track of inventory, so you can see what machines have Photoshop, CS6 installed in your fleet. And there's some support for licenses, so you can tell Munki MacAdmins, we only have X number of licenses of a certain piece of software, and because it's keeping track of the inventory, you can kind of see, do we need to buy more licenses? Are we over? Are we under? That sort of thing. Graham Gilbert, who presented here last year, has a web front end called Sal. It's very much focused on reporting. It's very pretty. Extensible. You can add additional types of reports to it. And it's available. Actually, I meant to update this URL. I bet that doesn't work anymore. So before I make the slides available, I'll update that URL. He moved jobs, and he wrote Sal while working for one job. He's taken it with him, and I think maybe that URL has changed, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll double check. A gentleman in the Netherlands, Arjen Bakhoven, has written a PHP app called Munki Report PHP, and it also is focused on reporting, and it has some really neat widgets so you can keep track of your fleet. There's some alternate servers out there. Simian was written by the folks at Google. It runs on Google App Engine, so it scales really, really well. And it lets you see, the status of your fleet. It lets you import new software into the repo. There's also a Ruby on Rails app called Munki Server. It's written by some people at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver. And again, yet another web interface that allows you to group software, group machines, and see the status of your fleet. That's a lot of choices. Your choice, what you choose might depend on what you're comfortable with as far as technology. This is a Ruby on Rails app. Some of the other apps are written in Django and Python. Munki Report is PHP. A lot of people know and understand PHP. So that might help you decide if any of these might be interesting to you. One of the reasons we want to have a tool like Munki is we want it to help us manage all the updates that we get all the time. And there are tools that add on top of Munki that make that even easier. Tim Sutton has written a tool called Amporter, which can query Adobe's update feeds and automatically download updates for Adobe CS6 and Creative Cloud apps and import them into your Munki repo. Something that's talked about a couple times this week in the conference, AutoPackage. It is a system for finding updated software, downloading it, and importing it into your software management system of choice. In this case, it works really well with Munki, but it can also work with Casper and BigFix, and I think Absolute Manage. There's some other systems that there are recipes for. The core developers are Munki users, me and Tim Sutton, so there's lots and lots of Munki recipes for AutoPackage. You can update OS 10 using Munki. You can use a tool that I wrote called Create OS 10 Install Package. You take Apple's install, Yosemite app, and it converts it into a package, and therefore Munki can install it. It's also usable in other scenarios. but it does allow you to, you can even put that in self-service so a user can decide when they want to update to Yosemite or El Capitan, and they don't even have to be admin on their box to do it. And there's other things out there. There are things that help you create manifests in Deploy Studio when you're building machines, things that help you enroll them into Munki. I think there's some that will integrate with Active Directory. Tom Bridge, who is here at the conference, wrote a really cool script called Munki in a Box. And you run this script, and it does all the work of downloading Munki and MacAdmin, Munki Report PHP, Munki Enroll, Auto Package. It configures Apache as your Munki server. It uses Auto Package to download and import a bunch of software, sets it all up. So very quickly you can have at least the beginnings of a functional Munki repo with very little work, very little manual work. And there's more. People have written on how they can manage the authorization database with Munki, how they can add and remove printers using Munki. So that was the ecosystem. Let's go back to Munki itself. Let's take a look at the user interface. So first we're going to look at what it used to look like. So the original release of Munki came out in, I want to say 2010-ish, and it looked like this. So it would pop open, you'd see a list of updates, and the reason why it looked like that is it kind of tried to echo the look of Apple's software update. That was the application that people were familiar with when updates were available on their Mac. So I wanted to make it easy for users to understand what this was and how to use it. So I patterned the look after software update. And software update's been really around a long time. And so if you had used a Mac for any length of time, you certainly had encountered it. But around the time Lion was announced, Apple also introduced this, which is the Mac App Store. And it is a different interface. It's certainly more visually appealing than Apple Software Update. And later, about the release of Mountain Lion, they rolled Apple Software Updates into this application, and they retired the old Software Update application. So you may now have Mac users who've never seen this. This is the only thing they've ever seen as far as software updates. So an application that mimics this probably isn't as helpful as it used to be. We talked a little bit about self-service in Munki and in the previous version of Munki. We sort of had to cram that into the Apple Software Update interface, and it didn't fit very well. It was functional, you could find what you wanted and check it and that sort of thing, but it certainly wasn't intuitive. There was no model that people could look at and go, yeah, I know how to do this because I've done it in a different app. So it was pretty clear that we needed to do a rewrite of the UI. So we went from optional software looking something like this to looking like this. So we're taking the cues from the Mac App Store. Graphically more appealing. If your users are familiar with the App Store at all, they'll see this and they'll go, I think I know what this is for and how it works. And so detail on an application used to look like this. You know, you'd click on Mozilla Firefox and it would tell you some little bit of text about it. And now, again, you can add screenshots and you can have full HTML descriptions of what the software's like. You've got a nice pretty icon to look at. So much more visually appealing. When there were new updates available, much like the old software update application, a window would pop up that looked like this, and now a window pops up that looks like this. And there's some other benefits to going towards the App Store interface. For example, discovery. If you're going to make use of the App Store type interface for self-service applications, you want to help the users discover that those applications are there and that there are more applications that might be available to them to help them do their job. So you can place software into categories, and when you select a category, it will show you other applications that are of similar focus. So if your users, you know, I'm interested in photography, and you have a photography category, they can see all the apps that you have available that have something to do with photography. You can search. So you can type something in the search bar in the upper right corner, and you can very quickly find stuff that matches certain keywords. The product detail, like when we're looking at Firefox here, has a sidebar listing, and that gives you additional information as far as other pieces of software that are in the same category or written by the same developer. And yet another way to help users find applications that might be useful for them. When we moved to Munki 2, it was necessary to kind of rewrite the localization so that it was available in multiple languages. And it's available in a bunch of European languages. And just yesterday, Alistair Banks contributed a Japanese localization. Now, I don't speak Japanese, so I have no idea about the quality. You know, all of those labels could say, "You are a stupid person." I don't know, but that's very cool. So, the first demo. So this is what the Managed Software Center looks like. We can see we got lots and lots of pretty icons of all this software that we can install. And no, I did not manually add all this stuff to my Munki repo. I used AutoPackage. I let the computer do the work for me. It took hours, because all of that downloading, but I just started it and walked away. We can look at detail. Oh, look, we got an update here. We can look at detail.
This morning.
Yeah, well, actually, let's get the detail on that update. Okay, yeah. 18.0.0. Like those numbers mean anything to us anymore. It just should, right? They just always go up, always go up. But we get some more detail on the app, and we can see the version, how big it is, who's the developer, fun stuff like that. We can click Update here to install it. We got plenty of time. Let's do that. So, we can see some status here. It's downloading, or if we went back to the main page, we can see this. We get sort of a more progress bar under the updates here. It tells us what's going on. Oh, now it's installing Flash Player. Which is, look, who was it yesterday? They said they're really excited about progress bars. They really like the look of progress bars. Well, you got your progress bars. And so we go back to the main software view. We see that it's installed, the version that's currently installed. So we're updated. And I didn't need to type an admin password. I'm not running as admin right here. The key thing here is that users can update their own machines and they don't need admin rights. I heard it got smoky in this room yesterday about this time, and it's doing it again. We got to bring lasers so that we can use that. Or burning. Yeah. Right. All right. We've got categories on the side here. I'm interested in internet applications. Look, there's Firefox and Silverlight, Google Earth, that sort of thing. And we already saw the updates. One of the other things, again, this is a discovery thing, is these things down here, this other available updates. This is software I've installed myself, but Munki has a more recent version of it, so it's telling me, hey, I got more, but it's not forcing me to take it. If I hit any of these plus buttons, then it gets added to my list, and Munki can then keep it up to date for me if I'd like. And that is demo number 1, and it didn't explode, so that's good. This bothers me a lot. This isn't, all the outlets in my hotel room look like this. And I know electricity doesn't have a right side up or a up side up, but this is, why weren't they all installed like this? It wasn't like it was a mistake, because every single outlet in my room is like this. You know the reason?
That's the proper way.
What does that mean, that's the proper way? Why? Because that way the ground won't leak onto the hot wire? I mean...
So when gravity pulls it down, it doesn't affect it as much.
Okay, so if that's the proper way, then why out here in the hallways are the outlets the other direction? So the hotel cares about their actual paying guests, but if you're here for a conference, you're on your own. So when we went to the effort of rewriting the user interface, a lot of people said, I want the ability to customize the interface. It's really important that I be able to sort of brand the interface to my organization so that my users know, yes, this is a safe, trusted application that you can use. And they also want to be able to add additional links. So you can customize the banners that appear at the top. You can customize what appears in this sidebar on the left. It can be more than just a list of categories. And you can add additional links in the footer at the bottom. And here's an example of a custom banner and a custom sidebar. And now it's time for the second demo. All right. So I'm going to have to do a fun little bit of stuff here. The customization is stored in a zip archive, and it's looking for one called site default right now. So if I rename this site default, and I need to run, this is as if Munki was running automatically in the background. So we'll just pretend this was happening in the background, that we didn't have to trigger this, but I don't want to wait for a while. I want to get it done right away. So that's going to take a few seconds. It's done. And now if we open up Managed Software Center, we can see that we've got a customized sidebar here. It's got links to PSU MacAdmins, the Munki page. Some nice custom messages for our users. Right? So, there are ways you can communicate to your users that might be fun or entertaining. You don't have to send out boring emails all the time. If you just say, please, threats or maybe promises too, right? What? That should be the default set of images, right? And the links on the side, they can go into stuff inside. So for example, this is just going to the PSU MacAdmins, but this could be like an internal help page, right? You could direct your users, and maybe it's a page how to use the Managed Software Center or how to get additional help or that sort of thing. Links can also open up your browser. I can go to Apple support here, and it'll open up a browser. So you can, by customizing those sidebars, you can probably bring a lot of resources into one place for your users, so that you kind of encourage them to use this application as sort of a one-stop shop for all their IT needs, right? And so demo 2, nothing exploded. People have made really interesting banners, so I actually asked for a few and I put some of these up. Some of them are really, they're a way for the organization to say, look, this app really is ours and not some piece of malware, not some piece of adware. And I think that's really important, because you put this thing that's very powerful up in front of the users, and they should have questions. Is this legit? You can also, I didn't demo this, but you can click the banners too, and the banners can link to web pages or whatever. So I'm assuming that one, they could click it and it could go to their help desk. There's lots of really interesting uses of branding and help images and that sort of thing. And I really liked this one. They figured out how to put enough code in the sidebar for a help link that or a feedback link, that when they clicked it, it opened up a Jira feedback form right on top of the Managed Software Update interface. It didn't kick them over to a web browser. So it really kind of integrated the feedback, which is integrated with a different system, it's their Jira system, but within Managed Software Center. I thought it was really cool. You can also do custom help. Mac OS X applications have a help menu, and you can point that to something. So if you write a certain preference out to Munki's preferences, a help URL, then when your users are running Managed Software Center and they go to the help menu, that first link that's there, Managed Software Help, that will go to the URL you've specified. So, you know, they click it. That's what we want, right? What's that? I don't know how to jump out of a video. It's gonna stop. All right, we're done. So shortly after Munki 2 shipped, which was like in late September last year, somebody added, and my mind has forgotten who this person is, I think they're from Australia, added a feature called pre-install and pre-uninstall alerts. And those are things that you can add to a piece of software to communicate additional information to the user before they decide to install it or remove it. So in this case, I've got Adobe Reader, and the user clicks install, and they get this little thing here. You know, you may decide you want to sort of, you know, it's a way of communicating to users, you know, you don't really need Reader, or you may not really need Reader. And they can go, yeah, okay, but I want to install it anyway. Or if they hit cancel, then the install doesn't happen. Demo 3. Let's see. All right. So Software Center. So again, you know, I click install on Adobe Reader. It actually works from either view. So I could go back here and click install. You know, and it tells me that I don't need it. So that, okay, that's a bit of information that they can choose to. Or maybe they need to perform some additional action. So I've got Sublime Text 3, which is a commercial application. So they click install. You know, it tells them that what we're really installing here is just the evaluation copy. You're going to need to contact the help desk for a license if you actually want to use this. I'm not going to demo uninstall alerts, but people want those too, have asked for those too, because maybe they need to communicate to the user, yeah, sure, you can uninstall this, but if you do, you won't be able to run this application, or you won't be able to access this particular website, or that sort of thing. So if you want, it's a way to just get additional information in front of your users to help them do their jobs. And we're going to cancel on that and go back to software. All right. Demo 3, no explodies. Recently, we also added native support for configuration profiles. So configuration profiles are Apple's currently supported method of managing configuration and preferences in OS X. And you can generate these with Profile Manager or by hand, or there's a lot out on GitHub that people have shared. And what you had to do previously, if you wanted to install something like this with Munki, is you had to take that profile and stick it inside a package and write some scripts. And that was too much work, because I had to do it over and over and over again. So it made sense to me to kind of streamline that process. And in case you're like, well, why should I use a configuration profile rather than just write some script to manage something? A behavior you get for free with configuration profiles is disabling things. Not only can you set things the way you want, but you can make it so the user can't change it. For example, here, you notice I still have the lock unlocked, so I have an admin account, but I still can't turn off the requirement to require a password. You can't get that behavior if you set that preference with a script. You have to use something like configuration profiles or MCX to get that sort of behavior. So let's demonstrate using configuration profiles with Munki. Cursor, there we go. Did I already open it? I did not. Okay. I want to show you a configuration profile quickly. Let's move this over here. And that opened on the other screen, so here we go again. Don't print it. All right. So a configuration profile is just a special kind of text file. And in this case, this is one that sets the desktop, it locks it, and it's going to set it to our very boring corporate standard, solid gray medium. All right? All right. So I can import. That's not. Where did I put these? I thought I put one out on the desktop so I wouldn't have to search for it. Oh, that's what I did, but not quite as high up as I thought. So I can just let's clear this so that stuff goes back to the top of the screen. All right. So I can just give it the path to the profile that I'm interested in. Profiles. Why can't I remember that? There we go. And Munki import knows that it's a profile, suggests some certain things. You know, I could change this description to right? I'll put that in production. I want everybody to have it now. Yes, import that item. Let's put it in a profiles directory. Now I don't need an icon. Sure, let's rebuild the catalogs. I just lost focus. There we go. And it rebuilds the catalog. Now, so I've imported the I've imported that into Munki, but I still need to add that to my manifest. So, hello cursor, I need the El Capitan giant wiggle now. So my machine is looking at this particular manifest, and we need to add this item to our mandatory installs. And that extra space will kill us. Computers are so picky. Okay. I'll save that. And if I go back to Manage Software Center, let's go to our updates and let's check them. So normally Munki will run automatically in the background. So this actually would happen automatically, but I just wanted you to see that it was there. I'm going to hide this for a moment, and we're going to hide this guy, and we are going to make you a lot smaller, and you can go away too, so we can see our lovely, I'm such an individual desktop. Right? So we're going to pretend Munki's running automatically in the background. I'm just going to trigger it by hand, but this happens automatically about once an hour. And it would help if you spell the command correctly. So it's running in the background, and it knows that that profile needs to exist. And so it downloads it, it installs it, and my dreams are crushed. Right? And again, because it's a profile, because it wasn't a script that just changed my desktop background, you know, I go, well, I'll show those nasty people in IT. I'm going to change my desktop background back to what I want it to be. I want it to be this. I want it to be this. I want it to be this. It's not doing anything. It's not changing. I hate those IT people. They suck. What? Right-clicking on a picture. All right, let's do that. Let's go to Safari, and it's going to pop up on the wrong screen here. Hello, cursor. All right. I don't know. Is this a picture? Can I control-click there? No. Let's find a picture. Anybody got a good idea where I can find a picture? That was named by Swedes, I'm sure, right? I still spelled it wrong, didn't I? Heck with it. Let's just Google. Oh, it's going, it's just slow. Flickr, a Yahoo company. Flickr, photo sharing. Who's got the Wi-Fi? Is this a picture? No. Let's explore. Hello? This was a bad idea, wasn't it? See? All right, let's be boring. Let's be boring. We're going to go back to the Finder. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to go someplace else. So let's go to the Finder and go to Library, Desktop Pictures. Oh, now it loads. Disney, that's good. And I'm just going to open up this Aristocats picture, which sadly went on the other screen. Here it is, right? So you're saying I should just right-click or control-click on this picture, and we've got Services, Set Desktop Picture. Okay, let's go. It didn't do anything. Big, fat, nothing. Right. So it is locked down. You know, is there some possible way a user might be able to get around? I mean, I can't guarantee that there isn't, but for most intents and purposes, it's been locked down, and your dreams have been crushed. And then later, let's say your management decides, nah, we don't need to do that. We can let our users be free. You know, we can go back and remove that. Actually, before I do that, let's do something else. We're going to go to System Preferences, which of course is probably going to open on the wrong. No, it didn't. And we're going to go to Profiles, and we can look through here. And here's this desktop picture setting, right? And I can hit minus to remove it, and it sits remove. Well, if the user doesn't have admin privileges, they can't remove it. But let's say I happen to know our super secret admin password, and it's gone. And you'll notice that my desktop doesn't magically change back to what it was even after that profile's gone. Although I can cheat. I think after a log out, this would happen too. So my previous desktop is there. We can just, you go away, and you go away, right? But, you know, if I were to reinstall, but since it's still in this managed installs, if I let managed software update, it's going to run again in an hour or so, and it'll notice that profile got removed, and it will download the profile again, and it will apply it again. So, you know, eventually you beat your users down because no matter what you do, we are going to impose our will upon you. So Munki, you know, is smart enough to see that the user has removed that profile. But later your management relents, says let's give them back their ability to do that. So you would just take that profile out of managed installs and say, nope, go out to all the machines, make sure that profile is not installed. And I haven't even tried this particular thing, but let's see if it works. So I'm going to open up the profiles thing, and you see the desktop picture came back, right? And now that we moved that, while Munki's running, you know, we should see that it realizes that the desktop picture profile shouldn't be there any longer, and it removes it. And again, the effect doesn't take place immediately. the user would have to, in most cases, they wouldn't see the change until they logged out, but I'm going to cheat again and bring it back. So that was at demo 4. And, you know, apart from the little confusing detour to Flickr, nothing exploded too badly. So those are all features that are in the currently official release of Munki 2. There's some stuff that's in development. It's available in the GitHub, you know, kind of work in progress, but not official release. The features aren't completely nailed down yet, but the big one that I'm excited about is something called on-demand tasks. We talked earlier about how Munki has this idea of desired state, in that you say, I want Firefox installed, and if the user removes it, it puts it back. And it does that by keeping track of not only what you've said needs to be there, but what the current state of the machine is. Well, there are certain types of things that you might want to make available to a user that it doesn't play well with that kind of state. There might be some sort of script that you want them to run that requires admin or root that does some sort of cleanup. And it's not a package to be installed, it's just something that they want to be able to run once or 2 times or 100 times on demand. So we've added some support for that. And we'll demo that. Let's see. All right. So you're actually the one I want to see right now, but I want you to go away. And we'll leave you around. All right. So I've already imported this. We're going to make something that the user can run to suppress Munki's notifications. There's people saying, hey, I have these users and they were presenting at this big conference and Managed Software Center popped up right in the middle of their presentation to show all the updates. Well, my reaction is, tell these users to install all the damn updates before their presentation and then the problem won't happen. But, you know, it's a fair challenge, you know, shouldn't there be a way that the users can suppress it? What I'm going to show you today is an ugly hack to demonstrate a way you could do that. I think there are better solutions that we will try to get into the actual product. But what we're going to do here is we're going to take advantage of the fact that by default, Munki only notifies people about every 24 hours. So it keeps track of the last notified date. So when it puts up a notification, hey, here's your updates, it writes a date to its preferences, and then it won't bother the user again for another 24 hours. You can actually change that interval, but we're going to pretend that we're just using the defaults for this demonstration. And so we're going to take advantage of that, and we're going to run a script that, let's see if I can, oh, I'm doing this wrong. We're going to basically run a script that gets the current date and formats it in this way so that I can use defaults to write it out. Why won't you go that way? Oh well. So that I can write it out as the last notified date. So they're going to run this one-time task that's going to set the last notified date to now. And this has to be done as root because this is the shared library preferences. The user, an unprivileged user does not normally have rights to write here. So something has to do it for them. Well, we're going to have Munki do it for them via this script. So I'm going to, so that's the script. We've imported it into Munki. And I got to zoom back. There we go. And then, if we launch Managed Software Update, come on, doc. Isn't it lovely when, there we go, when the doc doesn't want to come up? Oh, actually, let's do this. This will make it a little bit clearer what we're doing here. I'm going to switch back to the terminal. That wasn't the terminal. All right. Let's make sure, because I don't know when the last time I was notified. So let's make sure that Munki doesn't think I was ever notified. So I'm going to delete that last notified date from Munki's preferences. It wasn't there, which is good. And I'm also going to remove an application that Munki is managing for me. So I'm just removing Google Chrome. And then we're going to let Munki run normally. Let's quit Manage Software Center. I'm going to go sudo managed software. So this is what runs kind of automatically in the background every hour or so. And so we get to wait and watch absolutely nothing happen for a while, but we'll pretend that I'm presenting in front of a whole bunch of people, and I don't want, this thing just came up and told me that there's an update to be had, and now my presentation is ruined. So, okay, I'll just take that update, fine, whatever. Be quiet about it. So, actually, I don't know why I quit that. Let's open it back up there. Why didn't you install? Well, let's hit it again. Done. What? Ah! No, so now the demo is going to start going south on us, right? Okay, so I haven't made this particularly obvious for our users, but I could tell them, if you just went and found this little guy here, and you install that before your presentation, what it's going to do is it's going to write out that last notified date, and so now Munki will go, oh, okay, for the next 24 hours I should shut up. So let's install that. And that'll take a couple seconds. And this is actually some of the stuff that I don't like about the current implementation of these one-time tasks, is they actually take longer than they should because they're talking back to the server when in many cases they don't need to. So eventually these will be faster. So we've installed that, and now if we go back to terminal and let's remove Chrome again, and then let me do this too so you can see. We're going to quit Manage Software Center. I'm going to make the dock a little bigger. So Manage Software Center doesn't think there's any updates. And we're going to remove, I already did that. We're going to run Manage Software Update in the background, and we're going to pretend I'm presenting in front of a crowd of people, and Munki is noticing that there's updates. Notice it did notice that there was an update, but it didn't bother me. It didn't pop something up in front to interrupt my fantastic presentation to all you lovely people. And that was demo number 5, and it was successful. And we went through 92 slides, 5 demos. I cut the final exam, and we still have 28 minutes for questions. I can't believe how fast we blew through that stuff. So, I'm sure you guys want to get to lunch. Why don't we can take some questions, and then we'll just break early. But if you have a question, if you could come to the mic here, I'll cover as much as I can. Or if it's something really quick, I can repeat it. But please, if there's any questions, this is the time. Gentleman at the mic, what is your question?
Is there a way to control which users have access to what for like managed installs? Like they have certain groups they could see.
Is there a way to control which users have access to managed installs? Do you mean the actual application or the items inside that are available to them?
The items inside available to them.
Okay, that's a good question, and it exposes a fundamental way about how Munki works. So on the Munki server, there are files called manifest. And a manifest is simply a list of what should be on that machine or what shouldn't be on that machine. In my shop, I have a manifest for every single machine. I manage 800 machines. we have 800 manifests. And you think, well, that's a lot. Well, it's not that bad. You've got to keep track of what's supposed to be on machines anyway, if you're putting it in a database or whatever. Manifests can contain references to other manifests. So you create a master manifest that has all your default applications for the entire, your entire organization. You include that in the machine manifest. So my machine would have a specific manifest, and then I could add additional applications that only I'm supposed to have access to that application. So Munki has really no idea about users. It only knows about machines. So you could certainly decide which applications are available to specific machines. And if it's a one-to-one deployment, that's user machine. If it's not that, then no, then Munki doesn't really have a way to say, when Joe logs in, make these applications available, but when Sally logs in, make some different applications available. There's no support for that. Yes?
I was a little unclear on desired states, if that's something that is only controlling Munki's behavior itself, or if you're attempting to control more system-level elements through scripts that are somehow being tracked in Munki.
So desired states is all about Munki's behavior. You describe within Munki's manifest what you want installed or removed from a machine. And install could be software, but it could also be configuration pieces like configuration profiles or scripts that run to do particular configuration things. So you can take a machine fresh out of the box, connect it up to Munki, and it can install everything that is needed to build that machine other than the OS. It can actually do that, but you generally don't want to do that. So your question, it's all about Munki, but Munki can do most of all the things you need to do to set up the machine. There are things it can't do, and it can't enforce the state of the things it can't manage. But I brought up the desired state to kind of contrast it with a tool, say, like Casper. Casper is more the model of find machines that match these criterias and then do things to them. And it's usually a one-time thing. I mean, in yesterday's session with Shay Craig, talks about, you set up a smart group to find these machines, and then the policy is to install. If that install fails, Casper doesn't care. You told it to install. You didn't say, make sure it's installed. You said, run this installer. Munki takes it a little bit further and says, no, I think probably when you say install Firefox, you really mean don't run the Firefox installer and then just ignore what happens. What you probably mean is make sure Firefox is installed. So then when it runs again and it goes, hey, Firefox isn't installed, it tries again. Or if the user removes it, it reinstalls it. So that's why I brought up the concept of desired state rather than find and do, which is common in a lot of the other tools. Is that clear?
It is.
All right.
Secondary question.
Okay.
Why not just have an Apple script open Keynote or PowerPoint with that script as a prerequisite every time?
Because to write that value to the managed installs preferences, you would need elevated access.
Got it.
So, yeah, so the standard user couldn't do it.
Morning.
Right.
Quick question. Does anybody have any creative tools, perhaps you do, about if you're in the field and you need to elevate to a different manifest somehow and get some applications that you only want temporarily, but you don't want to give permanent access to this computer? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it's really easy to do. I'll have to look up the exact flag, but if you run managed software update from the command line, and since you have to do it as root anyway, you can give it a flag to point it to a different manifest temporarily. And so it would use the information from that manifest for that one run, and then not again. So you're in the field, you say, okay, run managed software updates, but point it to my super secret admin tools manifest, and then you could download and install those tools, but it wouldn't make it available to the real user because next time when it runs automatically, it goes back to its regular manifest.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure. ID or identifier, yeah, it's something like that.
Is there a permanent way to do that too?
Well, the permanent way to do that is change the manifest. Right? I want them to always have access. Well, then put the things permanently in their manifest, right?
So I bugged you about this on IRC.
Okay.
But,
and why do you think my answer will be different today?
Because I'm in front of you, so it'll be. So For optional updates, when they show up in the updates tab,
Yep.
it refreshes the
Yep.
yeah.
Yep,
So-
I don't like that behavior either, but nobody's come up with a fix that I like yet either. So
Yeah.
if we can come up with a fix,
Yeah.
I would love it. But
the checkboxes, you weren't okay with that.
it's the same problem, really. How do you know when the people are done checking?
So after checking everything, you could just have a button that says
Yeah, and I didn't like that. I originally had that flow where select and then do, and the people I tested it with were confused by that. They didn't understand that they had to do multiple steps to get that to go. So
gotcha.
user interface is hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get right. But yeah, I'm open to better ideas. I just haven't heard one that I really like yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I have two quick questions. The first one with, you mentioned silent installs.
Yep.
Is that restricted to just like login window, or can you run that pretty much?
Well, when I demonstrated the desktop picture profile, that was a silent install. It didn't.
Okay.
I mean, I
I
originally
didn't know
showed
if
it to you
was
that.
specific to configuration profiles. Or
No, you can set anything that doesn't require a logout or a restart to install silently. The additional tweak that you can do is you can also say install silently if these applications aren't open.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Right, because you don't want to update Microsoft Word while somebody is using Microsoft Word, because if it caused Word to crash and now their documents hosed, you look bad.
Yeah.
So Munki can go, you can say install it silently and it runs and goes, Word's open right now. I'll try again next time. Maybe Word isn't open that time, and then it would do it silently at that point.
And then configuration profiles, are they handled the same as packages as far as optional installs? You
Yep.
can just throw them in there.
Yep, they're
run
just,
one command.
you can treat them just like you just don't have to do the extra step of wrapping them inside a package. Munki just knows how to handle them natively. And I want to make that clear. Munki also knows natively how to install software that is drag and drop disk image. So like Firefox and Skype and Google Chrome, they come as an application on a disk image. You just import that as it is into Munki. You don't have to package those things up and then put it into Munki. So that's a big time saver as well. Yes?
Hi, Greg. Thank you very much for the wonderful tool you've created for us. One quick question I have, site default does zip customizations. Does that go into the root of the repo?
No, there's a special folder called client customizations. If you look at the Munki wiki, there's a full documentation on how to create that client customization zip and where to put it.
Got it. I actually couldn't figure that out, so what I've done is I've taken the Manage Software Update app, opened it up, and I put my customization inside of it.
That would work too. It's more work though, right?
Right. The only thing is, every time there's an update, I have to customize it again.
Right.
And release
No,
it
you
again.
put it on the Munki. You put it on the Munki repo in a special folder. At the same, it's you've got a packages folder, packages info, manifests. There's a couple new folders, icons for the icons there. Client customization is a new folder for those.
Is it one word, client customization?
I think it's client_customization. Let's.
And while you're looking for that, just a tip, what I do when I have to do a one-off manifest in the field, I create a new manifest that has the serial number of the machine. And then I nest the original manifest to the serial number, and I add additional installs. Let's say this user needs a special one-off.
Yeah.
And you can go by the long name, machine name,
Yep.
short name, and then the serial number.
Yep. All of those things.
Thank you.
Sure.
Morning.
Good morning.
So our IT department just started implementing Munki, and it's incredibly powerful. I also got a lot out of this presentation, a lot more stuff that we didn't know it could do. So this might be an open-ended question, but even though it looks really powerful, what features would you say people might expect it to have, but it can't do? Like, it doesn't actually have? I know this sounds really open-ended, but like...
Well, there's an open-ended question. Because people talk about managing Macs. And what they mean by that phrase can vary quite wildly from shop to shop. Managing Macs might mean to one organization installing software. Another organization, it might mean keeping track of where they are, which rooms they're in. It might mean imaging, right? So Munki manages installing and removing software. It doesn't help you with the initial setup of the machine, if you need to image it or whatever. It by itself doesn't do any sort of inventory, although some of the add-ons I showed can do both software and hardware inventory, but it doesn't do it by itself. It's a focus tool. A tool like Jamf Casper is more of a Swiss Army knife. It does lots of things, and they're integrated, and so that can be a big advantage, especially if you don't have anything to start with. I buy this tool, it has all the pieces. It can do the imaging, it can do the software installs, it can do inventory, it can do remote support. At least in my organization, we already had a lot of those other pieces. We're a mixed platform shop, so we use SSH for remote support, we use VNC for remote support. We had an internal inventory database already because we needed to keep track of inventory of Linux machines and Windows machines. And so we didn't need, all we needed was a piece to install and remove software. And so that's really that's what Munki does. It doesn't attempt to solve all the possible problems around managing Macs, but it has a set that it does. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, like one thing I didn't know you could do profile management.
That's fairly new,
which
so
is
yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah,
yeah. So, thanks.
Sure.
Partially to his question, kind of a failure story on my part. Initially, when I started using Munki, I held a gun to its head and I said, "You're going to manage all the configuration settings on my Mac," and I had 30 individual scripts that I'd packaged up into PKG files, and I had 30 install check scripts to make sure that those were installed. And then all of a sudden, every time I ran Munki, it took 5 minutes to run.
Because it was running those scripts every single time.
Every single time.
Yep.
And so I kind of moved all that into Puppet instead of, and I use Munki for more software distribution now, and it works great.
And there's Facebook uses Chef, where you're using Puppet. And I think that's a very important lesson to learn, is that a lot of the tools we have available to us can do a variety of things, but they may not do that. Not everything do they necessarily do equally well. And for configuration management, you can do a little bit of configuration management with Munki, but if you're doing a lot and you're really trying to enforce a lot of settings, Munki's probably not the right tool. Puppet, Chef, Ansible, there's some other ones out there that are more designed to do that sort of thing. And so you might need to use that tool as well.
And for the configuration profile support, if you make a change to a configuration profile, does it use version numbering to update, or does it inspect the configuration profile for changes? And modify based
kind
on
of
that?
both.
Both?
When it installs the profile, it makes a hash of what it installed and it compares that. You probably want to version, if you modify the profiles and you continue to import them into Munki, you still probably want to version them and bump the version just for your own your own sanity, just kind of what did I change over time, which one is the latest version of this sort of thing. But no, if it's really based on the contents of the profile. So.
And one more. One thing I use Puppet for is to manage the configuration profiles. And it supports templates to where instead of hard coding what I want in a profile, and then every time I need to make a change, I have to go change it every time, I can say, insert the OS system build version right here. And so every time it updates, it's automatically pushed.
So are you using Brian Warsing's managed Mac modules?
Yes, that's some of them.
Yeah, because I know he's done a lot of work with kind of auto-generating configuration profiles from, what is the piece of Puppet that, Hyra, from Hyra data. And yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah, mine just queries factor and then pulls the factor value in. That's all it does.
Yeah.
Is that something that could be implemented? I guess you'd have to have the fact.
Could it? Perhaps. Generally what happens with Munki is I don't do something until either I have a need or a bunch of other people convince me that I should spend time on their need. And so for me, if I came to that point, I would start looking at Puppet and looking at the Managed Mac module and go, what's going to take me less time? Figuring out how to use that or implementing something similar myself. And that's just a common problem for everything we do, right? Is I've got a problem I need to solve. either I need to figure out somebody else's tool to help me solve that problem, or I need to build something myself. Which one's going to be faster? And that answer won't always be the same at different points of your career as a sysadmin, or even for different questions. You know, if you've already started using Puppet on some other job, well, I pick up Puppet in 5 minutes. Of course, that's going to be the tool I'm going to use. Or if you're, you know, if it's all new but you know this other tool, you may decide it's worth my time to build something that I completely understand that does it. And you may find that you made the wrong choice, right? I worked on this forever, and boy, if I had just done this other thing instead. That's how we learn, though, is figure that out. But I always encourage at least knowing about those other tools, so that when you come to these decision points, you can make a better decision, because you know, if you only know this set of tools, then, you know, it's the whole if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem is a nail. Right. The more tools you know about, you can make better decisions.
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Greg.
Hi.
So how does Munki gain or have the privileges it needs to do all this administrator type of stuff?
So it runs as a root process, as a launch daemon in the background. So you install it with an Apple package installer, which requires admin rights, so it knows, you know, it writes in those things. So there's a root level launch daemon that launches about once an hour to check in with the server, download stuff, and do those sort of things. And so it runs installer as root, and it runs the profile stuff as root. So that's how it does it.
Cool. And secondly, it's with the self-service, you know, aspect to it. Mm-hmm. It seems like it would be a nice tool to distribute fonts, maybe, to end users.
We actually do that.
Currently, would you package fonts up for installations?
That's what I do.
Okay.
I mean, it's a package. If anybody was at my packaging workshop, a package is simply an archive of files
with a location.
Exactly.
I was there.
Okay, so yeah, and you know that the fonts go in library fonts. So yeah, it's just a matter.
No chance of just importing those. It doesn't know.
There's
how to
no
handle.
native support for fonts, where I could just dump fonts into Munki. We've only had like a handful of times we've had to manage anybody's fonts. So I haven't. I tend to work on the problems that are like, oh, I'm doing this too many times. Like, there's got to be an easier way. Do it once, and I'm like, it's not worth coding.
Cool, thank you.
Everybody seen is it XKCD, the graph, about the amount of time it takes you to code a solution versus the time it saves you, and people will spend weeks coding a solution that saves them a minute, worth of time, right? So you have to be careful that that you don't spend so much time automating stuff that you almost never do. Yes.
Follow-up question from earlier. With Munki, you can inherit Apple updates.
Uh-huh.
Is there any way to force those updates through?
Yep.
How does one?
So you can see this on the Munki wiki. There's a special kind of package info called a Apple update metadata. And it's a way to say, hey, if an update with a certain ID is applicable for this machine, treat it as either an unintended, a background unintended install or a forced install by a certain date. So you can add those attributes to regular Munki updates. That's a way to add those to Apple updates as well. And I've used that to force a security update by a certain date. Give people you got 2 weeks to install this, and if you don't, Munki's going to kick you off and install it for you.
Okay, and the name of that was again?
It's Apple update metadata.
Okay.
So let's.
Thanks, Greg.
We got boatloads of time here yet, so let's. I probably should have brought this up earlier. Oh my gosh! Don't go to that site. And the blink tag is gone. So I couldn't make any of this stuff blink. But, and people still are looking here for stuff. But no, it's in GitHub. And there's a wiki site here. And for that question, Apple software updates with Munki. And then this is information about that Apple update metadata. And there's additional information. But if you want to, that's where you look for that information, and it'll help you do that. Yes?
In the Managed Software Center earlier in the presentation, there was the section of other available updates. What's the criteria for doing that? Because I was under the impression if you did something as a managed or as a managed update, that it would be caught with the rest of the installations like you're doing with Chrome.
Okay.
Where do those come from, and how does it decide what is in that list?
If something is in optional installs, so Firefox, let's say, is in optional installs, I can choose to install it, right? Once I choose to have Munki install it, Munki goes, I'm going to keep it up to date for you as well. But what if I've already installed Firefox myself? I'm a developer and I need to test Firefox version 3. So that's what I have installed. And you've added Firefox to managed updates, or not managed updates, to optional installs, right? It would be bad form for Munki to assume that it has the right to update that. So it would show up, it wouldn't force the update, it would show up down here. So another way of looking at that is, these are items that Munki has in optional installs, that it has a newer version than what it sees on disk, but that it has no evidence that you ever used Munki to install it. So it's saying, these are available, but I'm not going to force you to take these. Now, if the user then clicks plus, it moves to the top, and it starts installing, and then Munki goes, well, okay, now I have the right to keep it up to date, which one might argue is not completely obvious that that's the case, but I am describing the behavior as it exists. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
One more.
Uh-huh.
With the Sublime Text example with the pre-install alert that said you need a license to use this software, is there a clever way to get that license onto the computer? I mean, I don't really...
Are you talking about Sublime Text specifically, or are you talking about more generically?
Well, generically, obviously there's going to be times where you have a site license and you're just, taking counts off of that site license to install it, and there's going to be times where it's going to be individual serial numbers that wouldn't work. Really more in the former case. Is there any clever way that the person contacted their department and said, yes, I want to buy a copy of Sublime Text, and can we tick it off of Walt Disney Animation Studios license? Is there a clever way to deliver the license to the machine?
Well, yeah, you put it in a package and you use Munki to install it.
Okay. But
Right?
I mean, it shifts from being an optional install to being something that you're now adding directly to their manifest.
Yeah, I suppose you could do some stuff with clever stuff with conditionals or that sort of thing. Sublime Text is actually an example I use because it's really, really hard to license in any sort of automated way. We only do it manually because it's so awful. And we know there are other apps out there for which that is true. So, what? Yeah, and our feeling generally, if it's really hard to do that, we really discourage people using those apps, right? Because they cause us a lot of problems. But there are some out there that do that.
Okay, thank you.
Ben, did you have a question?
Yes.
All right, Ben.
Sorry. Quick question on profiles. So the config profiles, when they're delivered through Munki, is that computer level or a user level?
That's a very good question. Munki can only install device level or computer level profiles. Again, Munki has no idea about users. So it's also installing it as root. And if you run the profile command as root, it makes it a machine level profile. Even if the pless says it isn't, it tries to install it as a machine level profile.
And is Munki then able to use the variables that are available in
No,
profiles?
the variables are not actually part of configuration profiles. They are something that Profile Manager or Jamf or whatever your MDM, they insert that stuff before they send the profile. So the time when I've needed that, I simply wrote, I didn't use this functionality. I wrote a script that did the substitution for me and then installed the profile. But yeah, that's a good point. Those variables aren't really, they're not substituted at install time by the machine. They're substituted at profile creation time by the MDM or Profile Manager.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure.
Question about optional installs. Like if struggling how to handle this with you, person's installed a bunch of stuff through optional installs. They get a new computer. I would just typically transfer their manifest to the new one.
Yep.
Is there a way to bring all those optional installs I had over to that?
Yep.
So that I don't have to re...
Yep. So when a user chooses things for optional install, it gets written to a file in the library manage installs manifests folder called self-serve manifest.
Okay.
So if you would just copy that to the new machine.
Okay.
I've played around and I've thought about the idea of could we also cache a copy of that in the user's home somewhere so it would just kind of magically happen, because people are always going to remember to bring their home data over. They might not look other places, but that's right now you have to manually pull that file over. There's no magic. It's the same place all manifests are stored, which is library manage installs manifests.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have a really important question.
All right, you got 39 seconds
All right.
according to the
So when you
monitor.
click updates, it shows like little messages at the bottom. Can you put in your own? So like it says like calibrating monitor, priming the load catches,
while it's installing?
boosting desktop wallpaper.
While it's installing?
fun things like that. Yeah.
it's installing,
Well,
you put some
checking those little messages. At
No,
the bottom.
there's not currently any way to customize those messages.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, everyone. And yes, the slides will be available.